So sometimes when you're like into theology in the Bible, you get lost in or you believe you believe you understand things in a certain way. Like somebody asked me, why does it matter if Jesus broke the Sabbath? My friend Kenny asked me, and to me that question just blows my mind. Like for some people, like if the Sabbath's not on your radar, I guess I kind of get it. But let me explain. Let me put it this way: put aside, because I know everybody's thinking Jamie's just promoting the Sabbath, so I'm not going to hear what he's saying. And I am promoting the Sabbath. I do think you're supposed to honor the Sabbath because Jesus didn't do away with that. Okay, but let's put that aside. Jesus had a mission as a human being, as our kinsman redeemer, and the notion that he broke the Sabbath Jesus came under the law to redeem those under the law. And so as the spotless lamb, we can't have him breaking the commandments under the Mosaic covenant. Whatever you think of the new covenant commandment, when Jesus is a rabbi, a human teaching the law, and he becomes the perfect sacrifice, we can't have him breaking, because God put a guy to death for breaking the Sabbath. Remember? They wore tassels on their garment. And we have Jesus in Matthew saying, the Pharisees are hypocrites because they don't honor their father and mother, and they make up their own commandments and nullify the commandments of. So Jesus is excoriating the Pharisees because they don't do what God said. And they're hypocrites because they don't do what God said, like honor their mother and father, and they make up their own commandments and make null and void the commandments of God. And he chastises them for that. Right? So imagine Jesus then turning around and breaking one of the 10 commandments when he excoriates them for actually. So Jesus isn't going to be a hypocrite. He's not going to excoriate them for being hypocrites and then turn around and break a commandment. That is utter hypocrisy if he did. They accused him of breaking the Sabbath, but he didn't actually break it. It doesn't matter what your theology of the new covenant is. This is like, if you're penal substitution, if you think Jesus died in your place, you can't have Jesus breaking the Sabbath. This just seems so intuitively obvious to me. I don't understand why people don't see why this matters. Even if you think the Sabbath is done away with, which it isn't, you can't have Jesus breaking a commandment of God because of what he said. He would be a hypocrite. He wouldn't be a sinless sacrifice to break the covenant commandments. So whether or not Jesus broke the Sabbath and whether or not the Sabbath is still a commandment of God in the new covenant are two separate questions. But do you really think Jesus broke a commandment? No, sir. Sorry. He who knew no sin. You don't think it was a sin to break the Sabbath? They put a guy to death for it. And then they put tassels that were the color of the law on their corner of their garments so that they would remember the commandments after they put a guy to death for breaking the Sabbath. Jesus chastised the Pharisees because they didn't actually keep God's commandments and they made up their own commandments. And we have the apostles dealing with Jesus' body on the cross as the Sabbath drew on, and they carefully kept it according to the commandment. So Jesus didn't tell them not to keep the Sabbath. Jesus kept the Sabbath. Jesus never sinned because he kept his Father's commandments. It kind of matters. It's kind of a big deal. God bless.